Hey team, you're watching Hide and Sneaks and it's 2026, but there seems to be a lot of online discussion at the moment where we look back like it's almost 2016 2.0. So I thought there was a great opportunity for us to do something very similar and look at the pairs that released in 2016, talk about some of the best pairs and see have they retroed since, are they going to retro or do we think they're going to retro anytime soon? So let's get straight into it because there's so many cool pairs for us to talk about and it was a very good year for sneakers. Starting off with our first pair, and we had the retro of the Jordan 11 Space Jams. Now the Jordan 11 Space Jam has always been one of the most loved colorways on the Jordan 11 and for good reason. It's popular, we saw it in the Space Jam movie, and it's a really easy pair to rock. Now in terms of release schedules, we have seen a low version of it come out since, but we haven't seen a proper high version come out, which interestingly enough, maybe Nike knew there was going to be a bit of conversation comparing to 2016 and 2026 because we actually have the Space Jam retroing this year as our December Jordan 11. Now I'm really excited to see how this retro will be. Apparently they've changed the Jumpman on the side of it. It's no longer Concord, it's blue. No idea if most people will notice that, but it should be a really good release. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Jordan 3 True Blues. I've had a number of really good OG retro colorways on the Jordan 3 come out in the past few years. I myself have absolutely loved wearing my black cements, but I was kind of waiting for them to do some treatment on a Jordan 3 True Blue. We haven't seen it since. It's a very popular and easy wear colorway, but now we're finally getting it coming back in 2026. So it's a whole 10 years since we last saw it, but interestingly, it's not being seen in the way you would typically expect. Rumors say that it's going to be another reimagined pair, so I imagine there'll be some sort of pre-aging or maybe yellowing on the sole. While that is definitely a popular thing from the last couple of years, I don't think it's going to age too well as a bit of a trend, and we're still going to want a true to form version, which might take another couple of years past 2026. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Jordan 6 Pinnacles. Now, for those of you who don't know, Pinnacle was a real premium edition that Jordan put out on some of their models. They did some great material switch-ups and made some really loud and interesting pairs, and the Jordan 6 had some really discussion-worthy ones. Now, the one I really like here is the gold version of it. It's loud, it's bold. It reminds me a lot of that kind of custom gold pair of Jordan 11s that Usher has. And it is, to me, one of my favorite executions we've seen on a gold pair. Now, I don't know what the appetite is for Jordan to do more Pinnacle series. Obviously, the price point of those shoes has come up and up. So for the Pinnacle series, they would need to make it even more unaffordable. And I just don't think with the cost of living, that's the best move on Jordan's part now. That said, if they did retro this, I'd be all for it, but I haven't heard or seen any discussion of that being the case. Our next pair is the Jordan 11 Low Cherries. Now, we haven't had a pair of Jordan 11 Low Cherries released, but we have had that execution release a couple years back on the high treatment. Now, personally, I don't think the red was a little bit lighter, less dark, so maybe it's not a perfect retro, but because we have seen the treatment done on a high recently, I think it's going to be some time before we see it as a low. So if you've got your old pair, hang on to it tightly because it's going to be a while, I think, until we get the next retro. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Foamposite ones in the Wu-Tang colorway. Now, if you're building out a color wheel of shoes in the Foamposites, you can't go past the Wu-Tangs because it's a perfect execution for a yellow pair. Now, we've obviously seen the Wu-Tang Dunks retro, so they will definitely dig into the vault and pull some of those pairs out. This one, I think, is just a matter of time because, as I say, people want to build their color wheels, and this was the best yellow Foamposite that we've seen. Obviously, it's been some time, but there's a lot of Foamposite activity happening right now, so I think it's just a matter of time until they release this pair. On to my next pair, and it's also a Foamposite. It's the Foamposite in the University Blue colorway. Now, I love University Blue, but I just don't see this shoe releasing anytime soon. We've had this shoe retro a couple times, but I don't think it's going to be very high on Nike's schedule for retros. We had the Foamposite Psychic Blues released last year, which is arguably just a matte version of that shoe, and I think we can agree looks really good, so I don't necessarily think we're going to be seeing this on the release schedule anytime soon. Moving on to the Jordan 1 Storm Blue. Now, this is one of the older Jordan 1s we just haven't seen released, and there's a real love for this shoe. Now, my personal view is the Jordan 1 UNC Reimagined really hurt the release of the shoe. I think they were looking at shoes that had that sort of cult status, hadn't released in some time, and kind of doing a way of releasing them as more reimagined. But that shoe, despite being so popular in its original version, just didn't pop off, so I don't think they're going to have that same love for it here. What we might see, and maybe I'm speculating here, is I wouldn't be surprised if this is maybe next year or the year after's version of the next 85 cut. I think it's a really wearable pair and will definitely be holding my hands out for such a cool pair. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Jordan 5 Black Metallic. Now, last year we had so many great Jordan 5s dropped, including the Black Metallic, and it was really surprising to see. because not only is it a pair that often gets a little bit overlooked in terms of models, often people gravitate to the 1s, the 3s, the 4s, maybe the 11s, and I feel like the 5s kind of fall in that sort of secondary tier. Still popular, but not the same hype we would see with 3s, 4s, 1s, etc. This time though, completely different situation. When the black metallics released, everyone went crazy for them and resale prices just shot up, which is really surprising for a gen release that none of us really thought was going to have that hype. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Jordan 1 reverse shaded backboard or the shaded backboard 2.0. Now in this shoe, I desperately want to see retro. We haven't seen it released since it first was introduced, and I think unfortunately it's going to still be a bit of time. Now I myself really want to collect a full color wheel of all the Chicalo color blockings, and that orange piece for me is a really missed gap. I can't justify buying a pair from 2016 at the price point that it is, and I am really holding out for a retro, but I don't know if Jordan is going to do that anytime soon. They just released the shaded backboard 1.0s last year, and everyone, myself included, thought that was going to be a crazy pair that fetched crazy resale prices, very reminiscent of what the last pair did. Because it kind of sat and some pairs are selling under retail, I just think Jordan's going to hold off on this. Clearly the popularity behind an orange pair isn't quite there, so if you are trying to complete your color wheel, please be patient, it's not going to be soon. Moving on to our next pair, which is the Jordan 5 Olympic. Now this one's a bit of a hard one because it is ultimately a white Jordan 5 with a metallic tongue. We have seen a women's pair that was kind of similar to this, had a bit of gold and brown, so not a perfect representation, but very similar in terms of a vibe check. But I don't know when we're going to next see this. Ultimately, it's an Olympic pair, so they're probably going to only release them on Olympic years. So the next one being 2028 means it could be some time until we see another retro. That said, they still like to be creative, so we might see some retros come back. I don't know the popularity behind this particular model, so if it does come back, it's probably not for another 2 more years, but still, there are other pairs out there that capture that similar vibe check. Moving on to our next pair, and this next pair is actually part of a pack. It was a pack that released on Jordan 1s for the 2016 Olympics. It had a bronze medal, a gold medal, and a silver medal. Now, I own the bronze medal and the silver medal. I wear them all the time and still get some good use out of them. That gold one is the pair that's always eluded me, so if it does retro, I will 100% be chasing this. But again, similar to the last pair, like the Olympic 5s, it came out as part of an Olympic year. I don't know if these will retro, but if they do, it's still not going to be until 2028. Moving on to our next pair, and we have the Jordan 12 French Blues. Like the 5s, we had a fantastic year for 12s, releasing a lot of the popular colorways. One of them was the French Blue, and again, it was done really, really well. So if you want this pair, you still have an easy access to that. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Jordan 4 Premium Pinnacle. And this shoe has a lot going for it. It's a higher spec Jordan 4. It feels and looks very similar to me to the player edition versions of the Jordan 4s. And if you could get your hands on this, it would absolutely be a worthwhile chase. Now in 2026, the price tag on a pair like this would be absolutely horrendous, so I don't really think Jordan Brand is in a position to do that. We are also starting to see the start of Jordan 4 hype really fall off. So for me, I think the odds on this coming out anytime soon is probably pretty low, but I would say once we get past the collaboration buzz, they might start looking at the Pinnacle series again. Moving on to our next pair, we've got another OG retro on a Jordan 1 high, this time on the metallic navies. Now this shoe hasn't released recently, we had a low a couple years ago. I just don't think we're going to be seeing this shoe release anytime soon, and there's a good couple reasons for it as to why. If we think about some of the other pairs from the metallic pack, we have seen those come out and the demand be kind of lukewarm. The metallic purples and the women's pair just didn't fetch a lot of resale price, and the metallic reds, even with 85 treatment, just had no interest at all. I got my pair for something like half the price of retail, which is absolutely crazy. So while I do think it's a great part of the original OG lineup, I just don't see this being something that's high on the priority of Jordan and Nike to release. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Foamposite 1 in the premium blue mirror colorway. Now, there's definitely a lot more foam positivity happening, but just similar to what we talked about with the Pinnacle series, I don't think Nike is in the position to be prioritizing a premium pair. I think there's a lot of retro they can still dig out, pull from the vault, and create some excitement before, without going for the premium direction just yet. I think they need to rebuild some of that love for Foamposites, get it back out there, get it popular, and that will take some time. So while I don't think this one ever retro, I think we're still a couple years away from seeing a retro on this particular model. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Kobe 6 Fade to Black. Honestly, I don't think we're going to see this Kobe 6 released too soon. We tend to see a lot of real loud and color-inspired pairs of Kobe's. The black seems a real shift from a lot of the Halo series they've been doing. And also, it wasn't that long ago since we had the Mambasita 6s, which are largely a mostly black shoe anyway. So I think this shoe eventually will come out, but again, I don't think it will come out until they've done and explored some other more popular retros that are in the backlog. Moving on to our next pair, we've got the Jordan 1 High Black Toe. This also just recently saw some reimagined treatment, so I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of a prioritization of this model retroing. It wasn't hugely inspiring probably for Jordan to see the shoe go to outlets when it was done in a reimagined series. And yes, while I know the aging and the switch out of the Wings logo would have played an impact to this, there just wasn't that much hype behind that model. It wasn't that long ago since we had the red toes and the black toes. So for a lot of people, because the reimagined series was so affordable, if you did want it, you would have got it. So I think it's going to be some time before you see a true version of this retro. Moving on to our next pair, and it's not a pairs, it's actually a pack. It's the Air Jordan 10 City Pack. Now, Air Jordan 10s don't command a lot of respect by sneakerheads. There are a few models that they do like and love, but ultimately I think it's one of those less popular ones that we're quite happy to just kind of avoid based on the price of them. That said, I think the concept behind the City Pack is incredibly interesting, and while I don't think we might see it apply super soon towards the Jordan 10s, I think we might see that roll out to some other models, maybe like 3s. Moving on to our next pair, and we've got the Jordan 1 Low Chicago. Now this was another pair that was just retroed, right up here, looks clean, looks great. Not much to say, it's already done its job and come back. Moving on to our next pair, which is the Jordan 4 White Cement. And there was a lot of suspense and anticipation and patience on this pair. It finally came out last year and was really well done. But I will be honest, I was surprised to see that this wasn't as in demand or as chased as I've typically seen Jordan 4 OG retros. Now that could be the indication that we're getting too many OG retros at the moment, or it could be the hype behind the Jordan 4 is inevitably starting to die off. That said, love my pair, glad I got it, and glad to see it retro. Moving on to our next pair, and it's the Jordan 5 Low Fire Red in the Black Tongue. Now this pair retroed last year as a high version, so because we saw that treatment done to the high, I think we won't be seeing the low for quite some time, and if you're holding out for the low, guys, do yourself a favor and just upgrade to the high. Well, that takes us to the end of our nostalgia trip, and as you can see, 2016 was a fantastic year, but a lot of that 2016 activity has already been retroed in a very similar form in 2025 or coming out in 2026. So if I have to compare the years, I might be early in saying this, but I think 2026 actually has the potential to be a better year. So let me know in the comment section below, what do you think will be the better year for sneakers, 2016 or 2026? And if there's any 2016 pairs you think that I've missed, let me know in the comment section below and I'll give them a look up. In the meantime, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.